I am Texas Beach Mom or Mama Robin, whichever you prefer. For a while now, we have been covering the deaths at Lady Bird Lake, and I do believe that's what we're going to continue with tonight. So, I think we should just get right into it.
Morning, the 25-year-old KXAN's Alyssa Gord is live from Rainy Street with the latest.
Sydney and Tom, you can actually still see some of those missing
This is
wires with
where we
Martin's
left
face
off on the
them
video
here
last
on Rainy
time.
Street. We heard it from his family members first. A team of around 30 law enforcement actually searched in the very area where Martin was later found. Last Wednesday, they deployed boats and helicopters. Austin police say they had plans to do so again on Monday when his body was discovered. Martin's family and friends have spent the past week combing nearby areas for him. In fact, they searched for him along the trail right next to where Martin's body was eventually spotted. His brother Mitchell had become something of a spokesperson for the search. You can hear the worry in his voice as he talked to us on the trail last week.
He's just a good kid, and if he was to come up to you, you'd fall for him in a second. Like, his personality swallows you.
Loved ones still don't understand why he disappeared. They say Martin was captured on surveillance video, behaving strangely and seeming intoxicated at the Alibi Bar on Rainy Street just before he disappeared. But the bar said he wasn't served any alcohol there, and his family says he only purchased one drink at the previous bar. But the sadness of losing him weighs heavier than any unanswered question.
Yesterday,
Pay attention to that. He had one drink at the previous bar, and none at the second bar, and then staggered out and died, drowned, whatever. You don't think that's a little odd? Like, all these, they're claiming they're accidental drownings, and most of the time they're trying to claim they're intoxicated. One drink. This guy wasn't intoxicated. One drink wouldn't make me intoxicated. Not intoxicated enough to fall into a lake.
an APD detective told us that they hadn't issued any warrants because detectives do not believe that a crime was committed.
Bullshit.
They found him, in Lady Bird Lake, face down. They were just scammers, man. They just wanted money out of me, and they got so much money out of me, man. By using my brother missing. There's a lot of fucking sick people out there, man. APD didn't do anything about it. It was just scammers, man. I had all this hope that my brother was going to be alive, man. And it was just swiped, and people scamming us. Scamming my mom, my family.
Okay, so let me see if I understand this. According to this young man that's talking, people were using his phone and texting his phone number, talking about his brother's alive somewhere, or brother's this, brother's that. I assume to scam money from him. Fucking what horrible people.
It's some sick people. So they did the whole thing, the autopsy, said he had bugs in his, all that stuff, man. Water for about 6-7 days, and then he flew up.
Just a little more than a week since Martin Gutierrez' family laid him to rest, his loved ones gathered tonight to pay tribute to him. Gutierrez disappeared last month after a night of fun on Rainy Street. A week later, KVU's Leslie Adamy attended this evening's memorial and joins us now. Leslie?
Well, Patrick, tonight's memorial also in a very somber place. That was near where Martin was found. And although a very sad gathering for his friends and family, it was also a time to just remember who Martin was. And that was a brother and a great friend.
Martin had a lot of family and friends here. Friends that turned into family, and it shows.
Typically, this hike and bike trail, a place to run and even play. But on Sunday night, took a different tone, falling silent.
He made you a better person in all aspects. He took your best characteristic and made it better.
Family and friends holding tightly to one another, mourning the Martin Gutierrez was, but also smiling at the happy memories he left behind.
The sweetest, funniest, movie quoting dork I've ever known.
Martin was last seen in the early morning hours of November 19th on Rainy Street.
This isn't a situation that anyone would wish on their worst enemy. It was tragic, out of nowhere, unexpected.
And when he never returned home that night, family and friends immediately launched a tireless spreading from Austin to his West Texas roots and even out of state. But on November 26th, crews pulled the missing 25-year-old's body from the waters of Lady Bird Lake. While their search may have come to an end, the family still has this message for others.
Be safe. Don't go into those dark areas. Make sure that, if there's any way we can improve surveillance or lighting in those areas, something that can be done so that no other family or other brother has to deal with this ever again.
And even with now gone, Gutierrez says he'll always look up to his little brothers.
Just to be humble, be kind, and see the best in everybody. And of course, my brother wasn't going to be swimming in the middle of Lady Bird Lake in November, but he was a great swimmer and he was all this other stuff. But once again, I agree with Reagan on the inconsistencies with this autopsy because my brother had a large contusion on the back of his head. Dead people don't bleed. The cops kept saying, well, maybe he fell off the bridge, he hit his head, he drowned. Well, if that would have happened, he would have never developed a bruise because you have to be alive for blood to go to that area, create that bruise on the back of your head. He had a large contusion on the occipital portion of his head, right back here. And his eyes. So when they found him face down in Lady Bird Lake, he was, but in the autopsy, his eyes were opaque, which means the sun hit his eyes or oxygen or something. He was never face down the whole time. They should have been clear if he was face down the whole time, and they were not. He didn't have anything in his system as far as the toxin. Me and him don't do drugs. It was just alcohol. The agents that people use nowadays are just so different. You got untraceable stuff, and they did a basic tox panel on him. I hear that they're finally getting their shit together and using tests now to check for rufalin finally, which is, finally, they're listening. Jason John went missing last year. I saw the number. I got out of a 12-hour shift at the hospital, man. Grabbed my jacket, a beanie, and went and searched for John and Jason for, a few hours. And I put on Instagram, if anyone wants to help, I'll be around here in this area, and call me, if you want to search. I called the number that I saw, and by the next day I was sitting in a room with his family and his closest friends, telling them everything that I went through with Martin, with the police, what to look for, what questions to ask, all the things I could do to help. When Martin died, my family and I were a mess. My sisters, my brothers, we were all, and my mom. We were a mess. Jason's family was so different because they were able to push that pain aside and they came at the city immediately. And I've had some years to kind of, cope a little bit. And so I hopped on that train and I went to city council meetings with them. I met with city councilman Zoe, I met with the Austin Parks and Rec Department, got to, talk in front of the chief of police and all this stuff. I'm like, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. Multiple people are dying, and it's going to continue, and it's going to continue. And then 2 weeks later, Jonathan Honey, I think he went missing. And just to have these people just look at you in the eye, man, just oh well, yeah, we should have done that. It's heartbreaking, man, because I know what my family went through, and I'm just seeing another family go through it. And another, and another, and another. And then finally, we made enough noise, and we were told to make noise. And we did all over Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and whatever we had to, radio stations, news interviews, whatever I had to do. If I had an opportunity to bring up something about Rainey Street or my brother, I hopped on it, obviously. What's up? Appreciate your time. We made enough noise to where people were talking about a serial killer, like the Rainey Street Ripper and all this other stuff. And, they were like, do you think there's a serial killer out here? And in my heart, I know that there's something going on. You can't ignore the obvious telltale cells of all male, all, dark features, all off of Rainey Street, all these, ruled as accidental. You just can't ignore this, man. It's ridiculous. Do I personally think so? I think there's maybe someone or a group of someones who are coordinating this, but city just continues to, deny. That's what they do, right? They got to protect their city, and whatever money is coming in. When South by Southwest was coming into town, they built up a fence real quick, because all this was hot. Oh, look, we're doing something, try to cover their ass. I was happy they were doing something. You know, it was nice to actually scream for something and actually someone hear and listen and do something. And they finally started putting up lights, and I think they have cameras out there. I think they got one, maybe two, but they finally did it, man. You know, but they still got a ways to go, and the APD really needs to pull their head out of their asses and just figure out what's going on. And I get it. Like, if you have an open case or whatever, you can't give any details, or you know, if you're really searching for somebody, you don't want to give away your position or whatever. But I mean, they're closing all of our cases, man. As soon as they get that autopsy, they rule it as accidental. They close my brother's case as fast as they could, man. And, you know, it was tough, man. Like, we had all these questions, unanswered questions that will never be answered. You know, the footage I really wanted to see was from Luster Pearl. They wouldn't give us anything. They said their manager was out of town for the holiday. He comes in. They finally give the footage to the police. They gave the wrong date and deleted what we needed. I never got to see what happened to my brother in that bar. There was no repercussions for that. Nothing. They got away with whatever they were doing, whatever transpired in that bar that night. They deleted something.
What was the authorities? What did they actually claim they believed happened to your brother? Like, what's the explanation?
The main explanation that they had given to us was that he was maybe, you know, going close to the water or went off the bridge and smacked his head and drowned.
Bullshit.
That's what they were saying. That was their assumption. That's what I was told. And on the autopsy, he did have water in his lungs. He did. But the other things, you know, the contusion on the back of his head, his eyes, you know, all this stuff. And I mean, I don't claim to be like the
It
best
says
autopsy.
lymphomas, trauma of the head, and yet they're saying this is an accidental drowning. Bullshit. Did I pause it?
Ever.
Yeah.
You know, I've been a nurse practitioner. I've been in healthcare 16 years now. I've been a nurse practitioner for over half of that now. You know, working at level 2 trauma, I see stuff all the time. I don't know, man. I know bullshit when I see it, but nobody listened. And then after a certain amount, I don't know, I think it's like maybe a year or two, they get rid of it. Like, it's gone. You know, like, you can't reopen stuff. Like, they get, I guess, delete files or whatever. But we weren't able to, like, pull up his autopsy stuff. I mean, I still have a copy of his autopsy. I saved that shit, and I've looked through that I don't know how many times, you know, just back and forth, and you just do what you can.
Just real quick, they didn't note the stuff on the back of his head in the autopsy report?
They did.
They did. And then they just acknowledged it as a fall. Wow. So what do you think happened? After researching all this, what's the possibility?
I think
Correction performed.
You know, someone
Jesus,
may
they
have
did some.
proposed to be
There was so much they
Uber
could have or should have done, and they
like,
didn't
hey, I
do
just
it.
finished
Wasn't
a ride,
performed.
like, you know, I'll give you a ride here or
Sorry.
something. But I think that someone got him to go out there and they hurt him. They hit him on the back of the head. Like I said, Martin was a big kid, man, so he was not going to be easy to take down. And so, I mean, he was already kind of acting weird anyway. So I'm like, all right, like, that's odd. But then, boom, like, I think someone hit him on the back of the head and put him in the water eventually. Now, I don't know when they did it because there had to be enough time for his eyes to be affected like that. So I don't know the, you know, time period for that, you know, change to occur, but had to be long enough for a bruise to come up and for them to catch it on the autopsy. So I think someone hurt my brother, put him in the water, and then 6 days later, you know, 7 days, you know, the 26th, we found him.
Would your opinion be that a lot of these cases are related to each other?
I do think that in some form or manner that they are related. Yeah.
And what's your personal reasoning behind that?
Oh, like I said, all the similar characteristics that each person had, like all male, all off of Rainy Street or somewhere very close to it, all up into the water or near it. Like, you just can't ignore the signs that, I mean, they're doing the exact same thing with each person that goes missing. So whoever's doing this has a I don't know, like a calling card or whatever the hell you would call it. Like, they're doing the same thing to each one.
It's really strange because when I was there just recently, like three or 4 weeks ago, I was getting a tattoo earlier that day, and the girl who works for the artist that I see, she told me that she has a friend who's in APD who she asked about all this. And her friend apparently said off the record they suspect that it could be a police officer that's in the Austin Police Department. And
Yeah.
To me, I could see, I'm not going to, present any sort of theory as being correct, but like every single person that I've spoken with, it's like the police malfeasance is astounding in this case. Like, is there anything with your brother besides them getting the dates wrong that you feel like the police messed up in their investigation on?
Yeah, of course, because the majority of the footage we got, the surveillance from Craft Pride, from Alibi, from all these other ones, we did all that. Like, before they even got to, like, there, we were already getting footage, and I was sending stuff to the detective. Like, I was presenting them with all this shit. Like, I get it. It was a Thanksgiving holiday. I didn't give a fuck what day it was. Like, my brother went missing. I don't care, what the hell you're eating or what day it is. Or if you want to watch the football game, I don't care. Like, you have a job to do. And my mom would, like, call him or, like, hey, like, we got this footage here. My son's going to send you something. Like, he would just ignore it. He would respond maybe a day or two later. We'd send him an email with everything. Maybe a day or two later, and I'm like, this is an active thing, man. Like, you need to be looking at your damn phone at all times. Like, I mean, and we didn't stop. We went from, like, 7 in the morning to as soon as it got dark. And even then after dark, I still had to pull my mom away from her searches. We kept it up. We never stopped. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if there was somebody that knows, and I know that, like, there's got to be somewhere, like, this little 50-50 split in the APD department that you think that there's a serial killer or not, or is it one of us or not? Like, I just, once again, like I said, I didn't trust anybody. I mean, I don't know if there's, like, a group.
He's not the first person, or neither one of them are the first person to mention that they think one of the members of the police department, one of the members of APD, Austin Police Department, might be the killer. That's so fucked up.
For something like this, because people, why the hell would you ask for the wrong date? Like, you have all the details. You have it all over the news. You have it all over your police department on what's going on. And you go to this specific spot and you're asking. And not only were they asking for the wrong date, after the staff corrected them, they were belligerent and got aggressive towards them. Like it was their fault. They're like, no, we can give you this. No, we don't want that. It makes you think, right?
Yeah, it definitely makes a person think. I guess, what would you like to see them do or have happen?
If there's literally, locations like these bars, that are clearly giving wrong dates of footage and stuff like this, like, ask for the day before and all the way through. Like, get 72 hours and see what the hell is going on. See what happened the day before, not just the night of. Like, see what's going on and then what happened afterwards. What changed from this date to this date, and then check in the center and see what the hell is going on. I just don't know why they wouldn't register, like, hey, we need to look, like, maybe a day something before happened, or what's changed from this bar, what bartender.
The only thing that I don't understand, well, the only thing that would make, not that I don't understand, but the only thing that would make this radically different from the other cases is if APD, if a member of the police department is doing this, then who's doing it in the other states? Is it a member of their police department? Is it a member of APD that's going on vacation in these different states and doing it in different states? Like, I don't know, man. I get their theory. I understand that, and they're not the first people I've heard it from. But by the same token, then, so who's doing it in the different states?
Was there the day before, and what bartender is here now? Or who's around in the area that looks suspicious? Like, do your job, man. My brother was the salt of the earth, man. He was humble. He was kind. He never said a cuss word. Name one person who doesn't say a cuss word that's 25 years old. Not one damn person. Like, he was the kindest person you'd ever meet. And those f***ers treated him like he was just a number, man. And my brother was not a number. He was a very, very loved person. Just like all these other people were very, very loved individuals. And they just get their cases kicked to the curb like they're nothing.
I've even noticed, like, they just found that body, what was it, last week?
Yeah.
And it's, regardless if that's not connected or if it is connected, I just think it's bizarre how in the press release they just go out of their way to say there is no serial killer, there's nothing here.
So quick to the draw, man.
It's just bizarre. You don't see that ever with stuff like this. And the amount that it's been happening, how it's just exponentially, even when I lived in Austin, it's like this was not happening when I was in college, and then it's like dramatically ramped up.
I mean, I don't have the details of what was going on, but I had heard, like, you know,
It's a shame
like, I guess
because
the
it's such
guy's
a
on two
beautiful lake
crosses,
and a
like, two
beautiful
crosses, they had
area,
a gunshot
and
wound,
it
and they
can't
called it
really be
self-inflicted.
used
I'm
because
like,
it's
okay. I mean, I know
dangerous.
I'm not a detective, but I, you know, whatever.
So do you think your brother was drugged?
I do. I really do, because like I said, I've drank with my brother, you know, so many weekends, you know, and all this. And I know his mannerisms, his behavior, his sense of humor. What I saw that night was not him. I do believe that someone did. It's crazy too, man, because you look at 6th Street. 6th Street has like cameras, like 40 plus cameras on that one street. But they didn't have any on Rainy Street. 0. And that was like a booming bar area for the longest time, for years and years and years. It's not like backing down now because of all the condos, but I mean, for years, you got this other street that has a significant amount of individuals going, people flying, hearing about Rainy Street. I gotta go to that place. And no cameras, nothing.
And that's just, once again, I don't get how that just gets skipped over when you think about security and safety in a city.
You know, and Austin Parks and Rec told me that one of the main contributors for the holdback on anything like that was there was people complaining that it would affect the wildlife, like some birds. It would affect a few birds if we put lighting and cameras around the area. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you put a halt on this whole process with multiple of your residents dying, families suffering, and all this because of a fucking set of birds and some wildlife. Like, people are dying, man. Ridiculous. One of the things that upset me the most was when I finished giving my speech at this city council meeting. I gave everything I had to this meeting. I had my time at the podium to just spill my heart out. Hello, everyone. My name is Mitchell Gutierrez, and my little brother was Martin Gutierrez, and I am in favor of Resolution 77. My little brother went missing November 19th, 2018, and was found November 26th after several days of searching, over 12 hours a day with friends and family. Our family also had to wait 90 days for an autopsy report, which ruled it as an accidental drowning, which I do not believe. My brother and I were best friends, literally finishing each other's sentences, and he actually lived with my wife and I. I knew him like the back of my hand, and what I saw in that bar surveillance was not my little brother. I strongly and firmly believe that he was drugged at one of the bars on Rainy, and I can't prove it. This was back in 2018 when I brought up how safety measures needed to be implemented to prevent this from happening again. Not one thing was done. No lighting, no surveillance, no fencing, and worst of all, my family and I felt as if no one cared because nothing was done until more people died. Unfortunately, there's been a significant amount since then. According to my basic research, there's been nearly 12 since my little brother. And one is too many. The installation of halo cameras and permanent lighting is no longer an option. It's a necessity to provide answers for what is truly going on in the area. I also support EMS and park rangers patrolling the trailhead area as well on Rainy Street. I feel this approach will increase safety, not only for protection, but also for medical treatment. I know because I'm a nurse practitioner in the ICU here at St. David's, and it'll help. I've been asking for change for many years, but ultimately it's in y'all's hands. Just remember to hold your children tight when you get home, because multiple families like mine don't have that opportunity anymore. And we don't because of the lack of safety measures that should have been implemented years ago. Thank you. I'm crying at the end, you know, all this stuff, and I finally just get it all out. And some lady from the Austin Parks and Rec, you know, comes up to me and thanks me for my speech and everything and how moving it was. And she asked me for a hug. And I was like, of course, ma'am. You know, she gives me this big hug and everything. And come to find out it was her that's been like denying anything getting done. Yeah, I had no clue. You know, I just thought it was this lady being nice, and she was like the reason for the hold up on everything. And probably the reason that, you know, people can continue to die. And there's no coverage, there's no proof, there's no safety, there's no nothing. And she had the nerve to just ask me for a hug. I don't know if it was guilt or whatever the hell, but, you know, pissed me off.
What's been the response from like authorities or people you've talked to when you've suggested that it's not an accident?
Oh man, they just, we don't have any proof of that. We don't have this. We don't have that. Like, I mean, they could literally probably see it happening and probably still deny. I don't believe they're telling us the full truth, nor will they ever tell us the full truth until someone talks. Like, someone eventually breaks and someone eventually talks. I'm just waiting for that day to come, because obviously for days and days, I would just sit there on Rainy Street in my car and just hope I would catch somebody. On my days off of work, I would just sit there and just watch and just see if anyone was being unsafe or something, like that, somebody getting in a vulnerable spot or something, because no, the APD didn't do anything. And I did at night, all that stuff. Like, now wife is so mad at me. But I was just adamant that I had to do something. I had, like, someone else is going to go. And there was like 7 or 8 people in 2018 that went missing. People, kind of just lean more towards last year when all this stuff was happening, but this thing's been going on for a while. Obviously, with the exception of 2020, no one was at bars, right? So there was nothing then, but it's crazy, man. Not enough change has been implemented in the police department or in the city of Austin.
For me, it pisses me off because, you pay the police out of your taxes, and the whole point is they're meant to protect you. And especially a case like this, it's just systematic failure.
Yeah, I 100% agree, man. I do.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to say or include here before we cut the recording?
No, man, I appreciate your time, bud. Like, it means a lot, and my family and all that want to thank you for giving us this chance, to talk about him and get the word out there on, who Martin was and what happened and what transpired and what needs to be done.
Now, I want to thank Mitchell for speaking with me. That is a terrible, terrible story and event. And it's absolutely unbelievable to see the Austin Police Department just not caring to investigate these actual crimes. I mean, Martin was clearly drugged at a bar on Rainy Street where all of these men have been drinking right before they die. He was seen on security cameras walking around, skipping. He had bruising on the back of his head, injuries on his body, and yet they still claim that it was an accident. This is after all those men that we just talked about. This is after
Good night.
all
Rex.
these people have been found in Lady Bird Lake from similar, quote, accidents. And yeah, the more we dig into all this, the more you're going to be convinced that this is not a lone wolf. These are not accidents. December 6, 2018, a man named Randy Lexvold is found in Shoal Creek in Austin. Now, Shoal Creek, like the Colorado River, where some of the other victims have been found, Shoal Creek feeds into Lady Bird Lake. I actually used to live right off of Shoal Creek Boulevard in Austin. It is an eerie area that is very isolated. Now, Randy had been visiting Austin to watch his daughter participate in the USA Junior National Swimming Championship. And while he was there in town, he went missing. A day after he was seen, his body was found. And when I tell you that his body was found in a very suspicious state, it was extremely suspicious. So Randy's lungs, when they did their autopsy, were filled with fluid. Now, seeing this, the pathologist thought he probably drowned. And even though to this day his cause of death is listed as drowning, his specific manner of death, or exactly how Randy died, is undetermined. And that's because of the state that his body was found in. Now, when Randy was found in Shoal Creek, he had multiple broken bones. His collarbone was broken, his right thumb was broken. He had a broken femur and multiple broken ribs. Also, his head, arms, legs, and torso were covered in scrapes, bruises, and injuries. Now, his injuries, Randy's injuries, were actually so bad that when the police first recovered his body, they couldn't tell his age, they couldn't tell his race, and they couldn't tell his gender. That's how absolutely destroyed Randy's body had been. And still to this day, the police have no explanation as to how Randy ended up from his hotel in Shoal Creek, covered in injuries, bruises, scrapes, and broken bones. The only thing that they said, though, is they know that Randy wasn't robbed because his personal items were found on his...
Now, the one thing that he does do that a lot of the others don't do, he doesn't cover like the 18 main ones. He covers others that are kind of related to it. A broader spectrum, I guess. But I still kind of want to hear it. I want to hear what else is going on. Like, is there other area? And I have found out there is other lakes in Texas that are starting to have the same problem. So here we go.
His body, I believe it was his phone or wallet. It was something similar to that. People think he might have been hit by a car and thrown into the river. He could have jumped himself.
Possibility.
But as is the case with all of these individuals, most of them were said to be happy. They were said to have been in sound mind. There would be no reason that any of these people really would have taken their lives in such a manner. And that's what's really strange. You see this in this case. All of these people vanishing, then a couple days later, winding up in Lady Bird Lake. They're covered in injuries. Sometimes these injuries aren't even noted on the autopsy reports, the coroner's reports. We're going to get into that in a second. And then the Austin Police Department just moves on. And yes, like in Randy's case, to this day, his manner of death is still undetermined. Then, on Saturday, September 28th, 2019, another body was found. This time, the person who had died was a 28-year-old man named Jake Waltrip. His body was found in Lady Bird Lake near the Holiday Inn by a group of kayakers on Saturday the 28th. And he had gone missing a few days prior on September 26th, after a night of drinking in downtown Austin. His official cause of death? Accidental drowning, of course. And now we get to my personal connection and why I think that there is something malevolent happening here. So in November of 2019, back before I was sober, I was asked by a friend of mine, Daniel, to accompany him and some other friends on a night out on the town. I had dropped out of college at that point. I was still trying to be friends with some of my college friends and making time with my YouTube schedule. And so I decided, yes, I would go. I drove over to their apartment. I met him. I met a bunch of his friends that night that were in town that we were going to go out with. And we headed to Rainy Street. So, like I said before, Rainy Street is the bar district. And that night we were going out just to have fun. I had met most of those people there for the first time that night, other than my friend Daniel and one of his friends that I knew. But everyone else was new to me. And one of the guys that was there was a guy named Christian Pugh. Now, Christian and I talked a lot throughout the night. He was a really cool guy. I really enjoyed hanging out with him. I distinctly remember one of the bars that we were in. I was taking photographs of him and a girl that was with us that evening. And everything just seemed great. I had met some really amazing people. We had all gone out. But back in the day, when I used to drink, I'm sober now, like I said, I used to drink to get blacked out. And this was one of those situations where we were all drinking a lot. So at the end of the night, when that time came around, somebody called the Ubers that we were going to be getting into. We were on Rainy Street. Everyone got separated. We got in the Ubers, went back to the apartment, which was about a 15-20 minute drive from there. Everyone was really drunk. And when we got there, that's when people started to say, where's Christian? Where did Christian go? And I was at that point very, very blackout drunk. I had no idea. I had seen him. I had taken the photos of him. I showed everybody he was here at this point in the night, and that was it. So I ended up going home. My girlfriend at the time picked me up. We went back home. The next day I get a phone call from my friend Daniel saying, dude, you don't know anything about Christian. Christian is still missing. And I remember this being like, holy f***, like he's gone? And then came the detective. The detective called me because I was one of the last people to see Christian. I had been with him all night. And they were already treating this as a missing persons report. I sent the detective the photos that I had of Christian. It ended up being the last picture that was taken of Christian. They ended up putting those photographs on the news at the time, asking people if they had seen Christian, if anybody had any idea where this guy had gone. But there was nothing.
This man's family is desperate to find him tonight.
Christian Pugh's family says no one has seen him since early Sunday morning after he'd been on Rainy Street downtown.
Our Patrick Perez spoke with Pugh's father about their frantic search.
Christian's family knew something was wrong last night. They planned to go to a comedy show together, but they hadn't heard from him. And now they just want to know what exactly happened here.
Something's happened, something's wrong, and I don't know what it is, but we need to find it.
Christopher Pugh is desperate to find his son Christian. The 21-year-old disappeared on Rainy Street early Sunday morning after a night of fun with his friends.
We found his car down in Slaughter Lane yesterday, untouched, so he didn't make it back to his car.
Christopher says his son took an Uber from Slaughter Lane to Rainey Street. The last charge on his card was at the Clive Bar on Davis and Rainey. Surveillance video from the Container Bar next door showed Christian dancing. His father says Austin police also told him of another video of Christian's friends waiting outside the bar for him, but he never came out.
He's not here. He's not called. There's been no activity on his phone. There's been no activity on his cell phone or on his credit cards, his bank card, nothing.
The search comes nearly a year since 25-year-old Martin Gutierrez disappeared on Rainey Street. Crews found his body in Lady Bird Lake a week later. It's a memory that crossed Christopher's mind Monday.
We already went and looked at the lake today. No sight. None of the homeless people have seen him. Nothing.
Christopher says he and his family will keep looking for Christian and sharing these flyers until they get answers.
At this point, we're looking for anybody that might have some kind of information on what has happened to our child and where he might be at.
Now, Christian's father tells me Austin police will be out near Rainey Street tomorrow morning with search and rescue crews and some divers. If you know anything about where Christian may be, please call 911. In the studio tonight, I'm Patrick Perez, KVUE News.
Days passed, and a couple days later, they found Christian's body down right on the shore of Lady Bird Lake, and he had been so badly injured that he was in a coma.
More than 2 days missing, now found.
He was in rough shape, but we were able to work with law enforcement and get the ambulance requested immediately.
Christian Pugh was reported missing around 1:30 Sunday morning after hitting up Rainey Street. His flyers fill the area as the hours he was last seen continued to grow. Multiple agencies like the volunteer group Travis County Search and Rescue assisted in eventually locating Pugh Tuesday morning alive.
We deployed a variety of teams throughout the entire area, and as one of the teams was beginning their search, they spoke to some local people that were in the area who reported having seen something.
According to police, Pugh was last seen here at Clive on Rainey Street when he was reported missing, but this is nowhere near where he was found. He was actually found south of Lady Bird Lake, near the south end of the Congress Avenue Bridge, a drive that took us about 5 minutes. According to those who found him, Pugh was deep embedded into this brush right here, in between the water and the hike and bike trail.
How he managed to get from one to the other, who knows?
According to Casey England with Travis County Search and Rescue, Pugh was found conscious but in very bad shape and was rushed to the hospital.
It would have been difficult for a casual passerby to come upon him. It really took that combined effort with talking to some of the locals that were in the area and those combined search skills to make sure that that all came together.
Last year around this time, a similar incident happened on Rainey. 25-year-old Martin Gutierrez was reported missing after going to the popular bar district. Crews spent days searching for him, eventually finding his body in the lake near the hike and bike trail. England says this incident helped prepare them in finding Pugh.
On that one, we came out and searched for a while for him, and we were actually able to take some of the lessons learned we had from that particular search and apply them to this search, which actually helped us in finding this gentleman that much faster.
No word on just how long Pugh was in the brush.
He was alive. Christian's, I believe, the only person who's been attacked by this group or person that survived, but he was in a coma for weeks, and I remember this and being unbelievably freaked out and thinking, what the hell happened? So right now we're at Rainey Street here in Austin. So back to my personal tie to the story. I was actually with that group of friends with Christian Pugh here on this street on the night that he vanished. So I have a tie to this story through this street, being there with one of the victims and seeing how he was not acting, drunk or any different than any of us. And then all of a sudden he vanished. This is kind of the apex of this story. They actually have nicknamed this potential serial killer online as the Rainey Street Ripper. Rainey Street is a very popular street here. I know even in the time I spent living in Austin, Rainey Street exploded in popularity towards the latter years that I was here. It's a very, very famous place here in Austin. People come here, they come specifically from out of town to just come visit Rainey Street and come get drunk down here. But there's an evil that stalks these streets. Whether it's robberies, whether it's a serial killer, it's definitely something. Somebody is targeting folks, either when they're walking like streets like this, heading towards
Welcome to Friday Night Live.
Lake is that way. I don't know. We don't know what's happening, but we just wanted to show you guys kind of Rainey to give you a clue of what it's like down here when these people go missing. Because it's
like
right
any
now,
other college
you gotta
town.
imagine it's a Friday night. This is 1:00 a.m. So this is gonna be the time when this killer or when these thieves are drugging their victims. They're starting to play on these schemes. And then in the next 40 minutes or so, when all the bars shut at 2, that's when they're going to really grab a hold of these victims. So this is exactly what it would look like. It's a Friday, everyone's out. It's a fun place, but it's goddamn eerie when you
Happy
consider
Friday.
that, is happening here.
The Rainy Street area looks like most
So on
college
the night
towns.
that we were out here drinking, when Christian went missing, we were actually at the bar right there, Clive. That's where we started our night. And the place where I took a photo of him, and the last place that he was seen at was called the Container Bar. And it's actually no longer here. It's kind of crazy how stuff just disappears here in Austin so quickly. But yeah, it's just a little eerie to think about it. I don't even think I've been back down here since that happened. Weird. It's just strange. And you think about the fact that there could be somebody, there most likely is, at least a bartender, somebody associated with one of these bars down here that's spiking men on purpose with the intent to either rob or have someone kill them. It's creepy. Who knows who it could be? But Container Bar, where my friend might have been spiked, that's gone. So, just weird, man.
Never know.
As I
what
walked
to
down
expect
Rainy Street
there.
that night looking around, it was like confronting a literal ghost from my past. Not only because I'm sober now and I used to drink out on this very street, but because of what happened to me and the person that I was with the last time I was there. Something you'll notice that's strange in this B-roll is how empty some of these bars and places seem to be. It was never like that back in the day. And I don't know if this emptiness is because of the fear of a serial killer that's running rampant through the city, but it's something tangible. There's an eeriness, a disconnect on Rainy Street nowadays. And that's because the Austin police are doing nothing to address this problem. That's because there could very well be a serial killer stalking this very stretch of road, or at least a group of organized thieves that are abducting men from this street, robbing them, and killing them. It's definitely a place you have to be safe when you visit. So, Christian doesn't remember anything about what happened to him. He doesn't remember how he got there. He doesn't remember who did what to him. But I've had so many talks with friends over the years about this. Rainy Street and where we were at and where he was found, it's a pretty significant distance. And even, let's say I'm absolutely blackout drunk, I am hammered, I'm doing whatever I can, I'm really, really messed up. I just don't see any logical way where a young man, especially like Christian, who was 21 when we went out, I just cannot see how he would walk by himself down to the river. For what reason? And then trip and fall and somehow injure himself that he ends up in a coma. It has always not sat right with me.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Chris.
We're going to stop right here. This would be a good place to stop this one for right now. That's all we're going to do of those tonight. What's going on with you, Olga? I see you talking about something. Happy Friday, Crazy Friday in Texas. Everybody never know what to expect. Scared. Wife of sheriff and mom of 4. I pray hourly and still not know. What's going on, Olga? What part of Texas are you in? Or and what's going on with you, hon? I'm okay, hanging. Okay. All right, well, that's where we're at on those for right now, for tonight. There's so many cases he covers. Like I said, it's a almost 3.5 hour documentary. I'm in Florida now, brother-in-law. I'm in Florida now, brother in San Antonio. Okay, San Antonio is not terribly far from me. So what's going on in San Antonio? Is there something that's weird going on in San Antonio? Hopefully not. Okay. But anyhow, yeah, there's a lot of these going on in Texas. Now, like I said, he is covering a wider spectrum, and I don't think they all pertain to. Didn't call him yet. I don't think they all pertain to. I don't think they pertain to the majority of cases we've been talking about, like the said 18. But it is kind of nice to know what's like he's casting a broader net. He's bringing up more people, so that's good because there is something weird going on. Well, first of all, there's always something weird going on in Texas, but there is something weird going on. It's not just at Lady Bird Lake. I have noticed a lake in Dallas, a lake, Canyon Lake. Canyon Lake is not that far from San Antonio. Because I've been to Canyon Lake. I've stayed there before. And there's weird stuff going on in Canyon Lake now too with drownings. So, and then like I said, it's been in other states. There is definitely something going on. There's too many people accidentally drowning in a 2-year time span. Always fun every day. There's just too much weird shit going on, at these lakes. And as I've said before, and almost every single one of these I've mentioned when we've talked about it, it's not just Texas, it's Chicago. I don't remember where at in Michigan. It's all over. There's different areas where this is starting to happen. And it's always, or almost always, men, as he said. And it's almost always guys with dark features. Not all of them are Hispanic, but they all have dark features like they could be Hispanic. So I still feel like somebody is killing these men. I feel like somebody is killing these men. Yes. Great example. I feel like somebody's killing these men, and either they're killing them there and and that's where they're dying at, or they're killing them and dumping them off the bridge or something. So I don't know, folks. I think we're going to continue with this one the way I have been, because there's so much more to cover. And once we get covered in the Austin area, we're going to start covering other areas of Texas where it's happening, and we're going to start covering the other states that it's happened in. So I kind of want to go the Austin one first, because of course that's the one that is closest to me. I'm not in the Austin area anymore. I'm down closer to the to Corpus, but I have friends and family up there. My daughter still lives up there. Now she doesn't hang out and party on Rainy Street anymore. Austin is getting more dangerous. It's, when I first moved to Texas 13 years ago, it wasn't that bad. But over the last, I'd say 5, 6 years, maybe the last 7 years, it's getting really bad there. But I have friends and family in Austin still. As I was saying, my daughter still lives there. Now, she doesn't party like she used to. She's almost 30, so she's has slowed down, but she used to party up there with her last boyfriend. And it's not typically women, but that doesn't mean that it couldn't have been her fiance at the time. It doesn't mean that, it could have been anything. It could be anyone at the time. So we're going to keep covering the Austin area, and then we're going to spread out through Texas, and then we're going to start hitting the other states where this is happening. And I'm asking everybody that sees this to excuse my hair. I just got it cut. It's supposed to be a trim, but it took a little bit more off. And I can't do a thing with it. Like right now it's just curly, crazy, and I can't do anything with it. So I got to work with it, see if I can get it to tame down. But I think we're going to wrap it up tonight. Thanks everybody for coming in. Thank you, Olga, It's always nice to see you come in. I also know that I have a replay crew that's going to hit these, so thanks everybody for that. Olga, you can always leave me a message on and my YouTube channel if you need to. Such a shame. It is, and it's young kids. It's these people that are dying, or most of them are college age, or maybe even a little bit older. The average is 25 to 35. So that's not really college anymore, but that's still young. That's still very young. I'm saying hi back. Okay, like I said, you can always leave me a message in YouTube, or my email address is linked to my YouTube channel. You can leave me an email if you ever want to talk to me about something. But yeah, I was looking at my crazy hair. A lot of people think they were drugged. A lot of people think they're drugged and then killed. Because in a lot of these cases, these guys didn't have any drinks, or only had one or two or whatever. And then they're staggering out. And like I've said, if you're not familiar with the area, it's hard to explain. But Rainy Street is blocks from the lake. So you would have to stagger, and then you'd have to stagger blocks down to like the running, hiking, hiking trails. I can't talk. The running, hiking paths, bike riding paths. You have to stagger all the way down there, a couple blocks, a couple miles in some cases, all the way to the hike paths, and then you'd have to manage to stagger past the paths and then through the bushes and the trees, and then fall into the damn lake. That's why I wanted to use that guy's video, because he's been showing a lot of pictures of what the surrounding area looks like. It gives you an idea how difficult it would be for people to be so drunk and stagger so far into that area that they're falling into the lake. I'm just not buying it. Now, the theory about it being a police officer is a possibility, I will admit. The only problem I have with it, like I said, okay, so if it is police officers in Austin doing it, then who's doing it in the other areas? Like, is this same police officer traveling around to other areas? Is he on vacation in Chicago or wherever, and he's doing it there? Is it a group of people? Is it like a network of people? And he's just this Austin police officer, or maybe several officers. Shit, I don't know. Maybe, I mean, I don't know. But this is just really weird. A lot of people believe they were drugged because they're not getting enough drinks. Like Martin Gutierrez said about his brother, or maybe I have their names mixed up. I'm sorry if I do. But the Gutierrez family, like he said about his brother only had one drink. And he was acting like he was messed up when he come out of the bar. And he only had one drink. So it's weird shit happening. I had a friend of mine I was talking to the other day, talking about, I'm going to go down. I've never been Lady Bird Lake. I'm going to go out there. I've heard the fishing is good. I said, dude, don't go out there. You might not come back. Not for nothing. But anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Again, thank you tonight, Olga, for showing up. Thank you, everybody that showed up tonight. Always thank my replay crew. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. If you're laughing at my hair, that's fine. I mean, like I said, it's just been cut and it's crazy curly. Won't do anything right now. I can never fix it the way they do. And I'm a cosmetologist and I still can't do what they did. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. If it's your anniversary, happy anniversary. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. It's a crazy world out there and getting crazier. Make good choices. All right, guys. I love everybody. Have a great night, and I will be back Wednesday with something.